Being in law enforcement is inherently risky, and it's up to you as the officer to acquire the skills, the training, and the mindset to be able to make it home every day. Even a call as simple as a simple theft report can go sideways in the blink of an eye. So, not only do you need to acquire skills and mindset, but you need to be mitigating your risk on every call, every time. Guys, if you enjoy this content, please do all the things that help the algorithm and help us small creators grow. But with that being said, let's get into this incident, and there's some pretty important things that I need to talk about. So this incident occurred in Hamilton, New Jersey on March 8th of 2024. So at the time of filming this video, it's been a couple months, and I guess they just released the body-worn camera from the incident. I'll have the sort of backstory video and like all the stuff leading up to the shooting playing in the background, but I don't want to bore you with the entire like super long clip of them talking to this lady before they go into the house. So basically, the officers got called to this house for a domestic dispute of some sorts, and they get there, they start talking with the lady, and she says basically that I guess it's her husband or boyfriend. The guy, the suspect, is acting irrational. He's not making sense, and just something's going on. There's no indication that she gives that he ever got physical or that there was an assault that took place, but all the indications leading up to when they go into the house sort of indicated that maybe there is a mental health crisis going on. That's sort of the backstory. Also, she had mentioned that he was currently in the basement of the house, and he has a lot of guns, and the basement is where he keeps his guns. So already you know that there's a guy potentially in a mental health crisis situation, and he is at the last time of where he was known to be in a place where he has multiple guns. So already your hair should be kind of sticking up on your back. This could go sideways very quickly, which it does.
Probably in the basement. If you want, I can lead you through. It's not
Right.
like a bad situation.
I got you.
Yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Dude, do the fucking gun! Do the fucking just fire! Just fire! Start it!
Bad situation, but
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Now, for starters, I'm gonna call the first officer that goes in, Officer 1, and then his partner who follows in behind him, Officer 2. So I would have liked to see both officers tell, the female to get her dogs and go stand by their car or just stand out of the way. And I would have liked them to, at a minimum, stand on either side of that front door with it open and start calling out to the guy to have him come to them in a position where they have the advantage. They have concealment. It's not going to be hard cover. Bullets will go straight through that door frame, but it's concealment. If he turns that corner, he's not going to necessarily immediately see where they are, and then call them out. Now, that would have immediately mitigated so much of what went wrong in this situation. Ideally, that's just the minimum, but ideally, I think doing the same sort of thing, but going to the bottom of the stairs outside. That way you have room to bail off to each side of the house or back to the cars behind you. That would have been probably the most ideal way to go about this. If you notice, when they walk in, they are very nonchalant about walking into that house, even with the knowledge that the guy has guns in the house. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying you need to treat every situation as if it's going to go sideways and mitigate as much risk as possible. Now, moving over to Officer One, again, they kind of walk in nonchalantly and they start walking towards, it looks like a kitchen area of some sort in the house. And the guy presents himself fairly quickly. From the time, I kind of rough estimated it, from the time that he was visible, just the side portrait of him, to the time that he is up on the gun and shooting at them, it's about 3 to 4 seconds. So that kind of takes us into the OODA loop sort of thing. So if you're on the range shooting and you have a shot timer, most proficient shooters, I'm not going to say pro, but proficient shooters can, on a shot timer, draw from the holster and be on target and squeeze a round off in about a second to even under a second. I know I'm not the best shooter in the world, but I can do that in under a second. I think the best time I had was a .94. And then, again, doing a bill drill, a lot of people can, off a shot timer, draw and engage with 6 rounds in about, again, a second and a half to 2 seconds. Now, those dudes are cooking. I can't do that. But now this is where the OODA loop kind of portion of it comes in, because it was about 3 to 4 seconds from when they first saw him to when, the guy was pointing the gun at them. And so obviously, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, 1.5 seconds to do a bill drill on a shot timer, and it was well over 3 seconds before they even got rounds off. And so that's where, the sort of mental processing portion of it comes in. From the time they see the suspects, they have to see what he's doing, see what's in his hands, identify what that is, figure out if that's a threat, and then act from there. So that all takes time, just based off the facts that they were very nonchalant going into this house. It just adds on to that time. If you're, a little bit more on guard, you're thinking like, okay, this could go sideways. Maybe your hand is already on your gun. Maybe your gun is already out, like behind your back. That can help reduce that time. But again, I think in this sort of a situation, it would have been better to just stay outside the house and call him out. Now, once Officer One finally gets his gun out, it's kind of hard to see exactly what happens because his arms block the camera view, but you'll notice that there is a hole in the wall in front of him, which is a larger hole, so it's a pistol round. It's definitely not a rifle round. And then his slide is locked back. So what I think happened here was, when he was drawing the gun out and he was kind of in this like compressed ready position, he either accidentally discharged, maybe he intentionally discharged, sent one into that wall, and then I think he probably limp wristed the pistol and caused a failure to eject. So again, I can't confirm that 100%. That's just what it looks like to me. So that kind of brings us into this idea of practicing your malfunction clearing. If you notice, he kind of fumbles with it for a second. He does multiple tap rats and just kind of looking at it. Meanwhile, bullets are flying both directions. And so, it's not a fault on him. He's just working at his level of training. But going forward, for myself and you watching this video, the more I've looked into it and trained myself, I like the idea of just whenever you have a malfunction, your gun goes click instead of bang. I like the idea of just dropping the mag, racking the slide, putting a new mag in, sending the slide home, and that's going to clear pretty much every malfunction you would ever have. I'm not going to get into the semantics of, oh, well, that's just by default going to take longer. And, what if it's just a bad primer strike? All you'd have to do is route the. That's not what this is about. And the time of, you're in a gunfight actively and your gun is not working. Yes, you want to get it up as quickly as possible, but you don't have time to sit there and diagnose what is wrong with it. So, doing the surefire thing of dropping the mag, racking the slide to clear any sort of fail to extract or double feed or anything like that, getting a new mag in there, getting the gun up, that's going to work 100% of the time. And there's really not much thought that has to be put into it. Now, if you look at Officer 2's camera, they enter, he can't necessarily, from the camera's perspective, see what's going on. He sees his partner dip off to the left. He dips off to the left as well. He probably catches just a small glimpse of the dude with the rifle coming at them. So he dips off to the left, gets his gun out really fast, actually, and is able to get, luckily, some rounds off in the direction of that corner as the guy is rounding the corner and shooting at them. I believe Officer 2 took at least one round in his left arm and he falls. And man, that's just a really, really shitty situation to be in. Luckily, it worked out for him. I looked, all over the internet at as many news articles as I could, and there really wasn't much info of exactly where he was shot, but there was a photo of him getting released from the hospital, and he had a cast over his entire left arm. And then some of the articles said that he was shot multiple times. So I don't know if that was multiple times in his left arm, or maybe he took one somewhere else. I'm not too sure. But needless to say, just based on the camera footage, I believe his left arm was completely out of the fight. And so that kind of brings me into this next idea of positional shooting and injured shooter training. So if you've never shot in a unideal position, being anything besides standing, you don't want the first time of you doing that to be in an active gunfight. I will tell you from experience, not of me being in a shooting, but just training, that shooting and anything but standing is not the same as a normal shooting stance. So get on the range and practice every other position besides standing. So that would be crouching, kneeling on both knees, laying down on your back, left side, right side, stomach. Just put yourself in weird situations, rather weird positions, and practice shooting from those positions, both two-handed and one-handed, strong hand, weak hand, all that stuff. Because it very well could have been this guy's right hand that went down, and he would have had to pick the gun up with his left hand and continue from there. So do all of that beforehand and just get used to what that feels like and get comfortable with it. That way, God forbid you ever get put into this situation, it's not the first time you've been there. And then there's the injured shooter aspect of it. So continuing to engage while you are injured in whatever way possible. So a really easy way you can do this is to get at a minimum duct tape. You can do it without anything, but it helps to have at a minimum duct tape, and then maybe like a tennis ball or some sort of small, ball of some sort. So like squash ball or something like that. And, if we're talking about just this, situation in particular, place the ball here in between your forearm and your bicep and either duct tape it so that this arm is completely immobile, and then practice, shooting one-handed from here, practice your reloads, practice all that stuff, and do it all in odd positions as well. That way, again, it's not, if you get into this situation, it's not the first time you're doing it. You can also practice with holding it. That way, this arm is still functional, but the hand maybe isn't working. It's very common to have hand shots in these, gunfights. So we actually see a lot of that. So practicing all of this stuff while both your support arm is down, your support hand is down, strong hand, support arm, all that stuff, practice it. It gets really weird when your strong side goes down and you have to unholster your gun and do reloads. and all that kind of stuff. It gets really weird, and you don't want the first time you're doing it to be in a fight for your life. So, just to recap, going into every situation with the understanding that it could go sideways very quickly, and pre-planning your positioning and your approach and all that stuff accordingly to give yourself the best position of advantage possible. From there, your malfunctions, again, I really like the idea of just every time dropping the mag and doing that whole thing. uh, for every malfunction, when we're talking about gunfights and clearing malfunctions in the middle of them, because it's going to work 100% of the time. There's no question. You don't have to process any additional info. It's just one set of actions for one problem. And then get out there and train your positional shooting and your injured shooter training. If you want to see the full unedited version of this video, you can go check out Police Activity. They have it up there. I will link it down in the description below. If you want some more professional training on the topics that I'm talking about here, check out slide tack training and centrifuge training. I have personally taken classes from both of those companies, and I strongly recommend both of them for all their different classes that they offer. I have videos on my channel talking about both companies and the two classes that I took from both of them. So check those out if you want some more info on those two companies and their training. I'll give you a little spoiler. It's great. And then, of course, if you enjoyed this content, please do all the things that help us small creators out with the algorithm: liking, subscribing, commenting, all that kind of stuff. And let me know down in the comments what you want to see me put out there. Otherwise, thanks for watching the video. Have a good day.